मैडम इमरान खान रिहा हो जाएगा, ट्रम्प आ गया. Okay, so the answer is Pakistan is really, you know, there was this famous call thing in the previous administration that luckily I was not part of. Call me. Okay, back in 2010, and was absolutely convinced that the West is far more civilized in their thinking and far more earnest in their protection of human rights. And they were absolutely, without any question, wanting to have the same platform and give the same opportunities to everyone, the same trade rights, etc., etc., etc. And then I grow up. 20 years happen, and you realize that the rules of the game are great, and we all have to play fairly, as far as the rules of the game are working in our favor. And the moment the rules of the game start appearing, that some other leadership or leaders may appear, and some entities or countries or group of countries may appear who may start challenging our place, then we all start wanting to be disruptive. So I question when we think that Trump is either anarchist or disruptive or anything like that, because I think in some ways Trump probably would at least say what he's doing, right, and not even do that, perhaps, sometimes, right? And much of what has enabled, because you see, the first time Trump came, I think all of us, the intelligentsia and not, were convinced that this was an aberration. That is not the United States of America. This was just an aberration. This was just something going wrong, and people explained, oh, people did not have economic rights anymore, and people were losing out since the 80s, etc., etc., etc. But now we know it is not an aberration. And I think the reality is that people are reacting like this because what we like to lovingly call order ceased to exist many, perhaps years or decades back. There was this, you know, this time of what Fukuyama called the end of history, peaceful coexistence, because we were no more fighting about which way to rule, etc. That all was in some ways a fallacy of our imagination. And right now what is happening in the world is hegemonic powers and centers of power, what have been the preservers and protectors of liberal world order, reacting and breaking that order. Because I think we cannot sit here and not see with our own eyes what is happening. Today, the people and the countries which are questioning and breaking the order are not the anarchists or the oligarchic countries. They are the democratic holders of that order. Okay, because it doesn't suit them anymore. So with that, I'm just going to, you know, now answer your question.
Okay.
To Pakistan, look, a lot of people have asked me what will happen wherever I go. You know, even Pakistanis, the first Pakistani, even at airports. Madam, Imran Khan riha ho jayega, Trump aa gaya. Okay, so the answer is Pakistan is really, you know, there was this famous call thing in the previous administration that luckily I was not part of. Call me. Okay, there is no call coming. We should stop expecting the call, and we should celebrate the fact that we are not a relevant country, because we've only been relevant in the most irrelevant and, you know, and in ways which has only damaged us. So we should celebrate the fact that Pakistan is not relevant, you know, that way. But let's also admit the fact that in US, lobbying is legal.
Speak at the Carnegie Endowment and talk about a certain kind of rocket motors that we are testing. Okay? Unfortunately, the entire statement was wrongly picked up here, even at the highest echelons of the government, including the current Prime Minister, and everyone here started talking about, oh, the Americans have said something about the nuclear program. They have not said anything about the nuclear program. They have also not said anything about the missile program per se, but specifically about a certain category of rocket motors which can be used both in the ICBMs as well as the SLVs, the space launch vehicles. So my point is that we are not relevant in the sense of being strategic partners, a la, for instance, India, but we're definitely a country that and not for reasons of our own, but for their reasons, for their interests or concerns, worries them.
I think because English is not my first language, relevance for me, I say it positively. And people really start reacting when you say, Pakistan Pakistan irrelevant? No, of course not. I do not mean at all that Pakistan is not a country which has immense potential, which has immense relevance within the region in the positive way. What I'm saying is that currently where the United States of America is, with its China containment policy being the heart, center, core of their existence and their foreign policy, the lens through which they view the world is China containment. The bonhomie that they're having with India and have been having in the last decade plus is the result of that much more than, as we told in the 58 points, Biden, Modi statement. Anyone who reads that statement, okay, maybe 20 pages for 58 points, there is nothing, whether it's space, technology, chip manufacturing, the length, breadth, depth, and variety in that statement does not match a NATO ally and US's statement. Okay? And they talk about our two democracies and our great, values together. But the truth is that India is seen to be the net security provider and perhaps the only important and, large enough state which has the potential to militarily. They also now have naval, not a naval base, but repair, you know these things better than I do, with the Indians. So in this scenario, the US's interest to impress Pakistan or keep Pakistan, and I think they're making a big mistake. Why are they making a big mistake when it came to India? India did not feel the need to choose US over Russia. They continue to import oil, break all the sanctions, etc., right? However, the US feels obliged, in order to impress an interest and and continue to engage with India in the depth that they want, to do India's bidding. It's a bit like the Israel, Mershiman's famous book on US lobby.
Yeah,
Israel lobby,
Mershimer and Volt.
And exactly, Stephen Bolton. And so pretty much like the Indians are so keen on ensuring that Pakistan, in some ways, as they say, can be isolated. I mean, we just won a Security Council seat with almost like an absolute majority, right? So clearly, I'm not saying irrelevant, unimportant. I'm saying irrelevant in a good way.
Okay. Right. Mohit, I want you to quickly address this issue of Pakistan's relevance or otherwise, but then I want you to just sort of fly over to the other side of the Atlantic and address two things with reference to Trump. One is, of course, the Russo-Ukraine war. The other is what Trump has said. Kellogg was actually supposed to go to Kyiv, but he postponed that until after the inauguration. He has already put out a roadmap for peace. And allied with that, of course, you have the situation in Germany, which is being variously called the sick man of Europe. They've had snap polls. SPD is unlikely to be a major coalition partner, according to various analyses. Zeitenwende hasn't really worked out. So, will the Europeans step up to the plate? How would the Russo-Ukraine war pan out? How do you think Trump is going to pressure the Europeans into doing his bidding? And finally, and somewhat mischievously, I want to ask you whether, when we talk about Europe, should we use it as a collective noun to begin with?
Thank you, Jah. Sorry, I'm going to be a bad guest because I'm far more interested in Pakistan than what you asked me. So I'll come to that. But let me, if you allow me, pick up from where Hina left. Again, one thing, this keeps coming back, and I actually don't know of any other country that does this so regularly as we do, which is this culturally derived view of foreign policy and international relations.